Okay, so here we are, guys. Let me share my screen. Good afternoon to everybody. I'm Chris Panugakis. I am a Microsoft certified trainer. Okay, let me share it again. Sorry. Um, I'm going to present to you today a topic that it's hot for many security guys out there. It's about Microsoft Copilot for security. By the way, congratulations to the organizers. I've seen many fantastic sessions yesterday. Uh, I've seen a lot of developer sessions, however, but excuse me, guys, I'm not a developer. So what you're going to see during the session is something a little bit different from the um, developer session. So as I've told you, I'm a Microsoft certified trainer since 1998. I'm an ex-MVP and I'm located, as you can see, in Greece. So let's go through the presentation and we're going to see together what Microsoft Copilot for security is. I'm going to show you a lot of Copilot security exams and demos, but bear with me till the end because I have a really scary security case to show you. Okay, so let's go on. And first, let's do a small introduction about what Microsoft Security Copilot is. So, as Microsoft says, it's a generative AI-powered assistant for security and IT that empowers teams to protect at the speed and scale of artificial intelligence. What you can see from this slide is that Microsoft Security Copilot is integrated in Microsoft Defender, in Microsoft Sentinel, in Microsoft Entra, in Microsoft Intune, in Microsoft Purview Information Protection. Actually, is integrated everywhere when we talk about Microsoft 365 security and Azure. Okay, so the good thing about Microsoft's Copilot security is that you can use it by using the so-called experiences. This is something that Microsoft uses to call these different flavors, let's say, of Security Copilot. The one in the left side, it's the embedded experience. I'm going to show you a lot of examples related to that one, but as you can see, it's the experience that lets you get Copilot guidance natively within Microsoft 365 Security, Defender, Sentinel, Azure, you name it. But of course, another flavor of Security Copilot that you can use is the standalone experience. The standalone experience is a portal by itself that lets you use the so-called prompt books. We are going to see some examples of prompt books also. Okay, so everything is automated here. You can get ideas, you can use real life language to get information about your security incidents and also guidance about what could be the next step to you for you in order to respond to a security incident. Okay, so another thing that we've seen that it actually works now with Security Copilot is that you can use logic apps in Microsoft Azure to build your own logic and better understand what information you get from Security Copilot. I have a lot of examples just like this. We'll see them in a moment. So let me show you a small screenshot of what is the standalone experience. It's a portal that you can actually use prompt books. You can see some examples of prompt books down here. Let's say, for example, we can use that one to do a suspicious script analysis, or you can use this one, this prompt book, to do a Microsoft 365 Defender incident investigation. As you can see, what is actually a prompt book? It's a series of prompts that are already there, and you can run the prompt book and get all the results and all the information you need related to security. So this is the standalone experience. You can actually use type your prompts in natural language and receive responses, even if you don't want to use the ready-made prompt books that are located here. The next experience is the embedded experience. As you can see now, I use the Defender, the 365 Defender portal. And what can I do with this is to click that magic button here, which is present everywhere in Microsoft 365 Defender. In this specific screenshot, as you can see, I need somehow to get a query for the advanced handling in Microsoft 365 Defender. So what I would like to do, I would like to get logon attempts by domain accounts targeted by credential theft. But I need to write a query for this, and I don't know how to write queries. As I told you, I'm not a developer. What can I do? I could ask Copilot to write the script for me. So it will give you the query to get logon attempts by domain accounts targeted by credential theft. You just add and run that query in the advanced handling window here, run it and get all the information that you need. So practically you don't need to write this query by yourself. You just have Copilot to write it for you. These are some of the things that you can use by using the embedded experience. And let's see some demos. Probably one of the cases that you have to deal very often with security in Defender XDR and even Microsoft Sentinel is to investigate failed login attempts. This is something that happens every day, every single day. Users that forgets their passwords, or maybe a failed login attempt could be, let's say, an attack, a brute force attack or whatever. So let's see what you can do in order to investigate these failed login attempts by using Copilot for security. So for this specific case, I'm going to use the standalone experience, and I'm going to search for a prompt book in the prompt book library. The prompt book that I want to search for is the failed login attempts. And as you can see, there is a prompt book here, which I can actually use. And if you click on that prompt book, you get all the automation steps that this prompt book can give you. Let's take a look at the steps one by one. So the first the first step is to run a query to identify failed sign-in attempts. Okay, and then as soon as Copilot gets this information, we move to the next step. The next step could be to provide a representation of the above results in a JSON format. And let's use the top 5 records of these failed login attempts. The next step could be to run a reputation scoring for the IP addresses identified in that specific login attempts information that we get. The next step is to use Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence and also run geolocation for the IP addresses identified in that failed login attempt. And finally, create a report with the findings from the About investigation. And you can see how beautifully this prompt will create a report. Consider factors such as sign-in details. This will be included in the report. Association with security groups, IP's reputation scoring, authentication methods, device compliance information, and many other things that will be included in that report. So you just simply run it. It will use the information of all failed login attempts that were detected using Microsoft Defender XDR, and you will get an information like this. The next step that you can do actually is that one. You can create a logic app in the logic app designer in Microsoft Azure. So as you can see, we've created a logic app here. We collect the information about the incident from Microsoft Sentinel, and we run a Copilot security prompt book on that specific information, on that specific incident. Okay, as soon as we can go through this step, then we submit this information for a security prompt in the prompt book, as I showed you before. And finally, with all that information and the final report that was created, we can use that information to send an email to the security team of our company. And this actual email information could be something like this: an investigation report of anomalous sign-ins, findings, IP addresses, sign-in counts, locations, client application used, IP reputation score, and risk level. So the security team will get all that information generated almost automatically by using Copilot for security. Okay. Another demo that I want to show you is how to get a report that analyzes a suspicious script. Again, we've seen a lot of times that we get suspicious scripts in Microsoft Defender XDR and also in Microsoft Sentinel, but let's see how we can use Microsoft Security Copilot to actually get information about what a suspicious script does. Luckily for us, there is a prompt book ready-made there in the portal, in the Security Copilot portal. This prompt book is called Suspicious Script Analysis, and it has some very specific steps. So the following script was found as part of a potential security incident. The first step will be to explain what the script does step by step and after the intent. Also note any actions expressed that could be malicious in nature. The next step could be to actually use that and provide the reputation of any IP addresses or host names found in the script. The next step will be to list any threat intelligence correlated to indicators found within script, and I'm going to show you some examples of indicators later on, and provide me a brief summary and include links to source material. Next, we should extract all indicators from the script that could be used within a detection query, and based on the actions of this script that was analyzed before, give me specific recommendations for how to respond to this script. And that's really very useful because, okay, we've seen that we have a malicious script and what it does. What could be the next actions, what we can actually do to protect our company. And lastly, summarize the findings from this analysis into an executive report. And we can actually include all the information that we need, like script overview, threat intelligence, response suggestions. Okay, the good thing here when we talk about artificial intelligence is that you can actually write down this information, create this report suitable for a less technical audience, because probably you want to give this report to your manager and your manager is not a highly technical person. So Copilot for Security should use something like, let's say, a language that this manager could understand. And this is another prompt that you can use in a prompt book. Let's do this by using, again, a logic app in Microsoft Azure, in the Logic App Designer. And what we can do, we can check in that incident from Microsoft Sentinel if there is a script. If there is a script, run a script analyzer using Copilot, summarize the data, add a comment to that specific incident, and probably the next step could be to send all that information in an email to our security team in the company. Okay. And that's actually what we can get, the activity log that could be summarized by using Copilot. This is the incident activity log that was actually produced by Copilot, and it gives you all the information that you need to know. So in this specific scenario, we had a PowerShell script that was identified that decodes a base64 encoded command to retrieve a URL and execute a function to obtain a user PRT, primary refresh token. You can get all the actions of what the script does. If there are any threat intelligence information that you need to know, so what are the URLs that this actual script will use? And finally, you get the response suggestions. Microsoft Copilot for Security will give you the immediate response actions that you need to do. Isolate the affected system, block the URLs and IP addresses, incident response team activation to notify the incident response team, and so on. So you get all the activity log with information that will be very easy for you to understand. And the best part is that it shows you what you need to do in order to protect your company. Another one could be that one. We could use Microsoft Purview Data Security Posture Management for that one to uncover and manage hidden data risks. And let's take a look at this one. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Microsoft Purview portal. In this specific scenario, we would like to use the data security posture management in Purview. So the thing here, the case, is that we would like to detect sensitive data leaks. Maybe we have some sensitive company files that were shared outside our organization by using SharePoint in the last week. So as you can see, Copilot has some ready-made prompts here that you can use, and we're going to use that one. So show me which sensitive files were shared outside the organization from SharePoint in the last week. And this is because we have a SharePoint site with some sensitive information here. So as you click on that one, it will give you the information. This is the response of Microsoft Copilot for Security. In the last week, the following sensitive files were shared outside the organization from SharePoint: the first file, the second file, the third file. Okay, so probably the next thing that you would like to do is to use some prompts that Copilot for Security suggests you. For example, what are the labels on these files? And if you're not familiar with Microsoft Purview, the information protection mechanism of Purview can use labels, sensitivity labels. For example, a document that is confidential should get a label that is called confidential, and we can create policies to protect all the documents that have that specific label. For example, we could create a security policy to protect these documents from being able to be shared outside of the organization by using, let's say, as an attachment in an email. As soon as the user tries to attach a sensitive document in an email, this email cannot go outside the company, cannot be delivered to recipients outside of the company. So another example could be to show me the users who shared above files externally. Or another one could be show me activities involving highly confidential labeled files. Okay. Actually, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to type in as a Copilot prompt, what are the labels on these files? Okay, we've got 3 files, but are they considered sensitive? What are the sensitivity labels? And you get the information about the sensitivity labels. This is a general label, and this is a non-business label. Okay, and something else we could do could be that one. Provide a list of all label downgrade and exfiltration activities on this specific SharePoint site. When we talk about a label downgrade, means that if a file is considered a sensitive file, a user could change the file to the label of the file and make it a general one or a public one. Okay, this is very important because it will change the policy that will be applied to that specific file. If I have a file that has the label confidential and the user will change it to public, everything else, all the policies that are applied to this file change. Okay. The next thing I could use is that one as a prompt. Provide a list of all label downgrade and exfiltration activities on files with Project Obsidian information, and will give me all the information, everything that happened on the last 30 days. Here are all the label downgrade and exfiltration activities performed on these files. Okay, this specific file had the label downgrade and the actual date and time of this downgrade. This one also, this is an exfiltration activity. The meaning of an exfiltration activity is actually that someone tried to copy the file using a USB stick or upload the file to Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever. All these are considered exfiltration activities. And we have another exfiltration activity for that specific file here, that specific Word document. So, okay, we get the information, but we need to know what we should do next in order to prevent this to happen in the future. So we can ask Copilot, how can an adaptive protection policy help prevent this in the future? And Microsoft Copilot will give you all the information that you need. Adaptive protection in Microsoft Purview integrates inside the risk management with data loss prevention to dynamically and all this information here. Okay, so you know what to do. You've got the information about this exfiltration activities and label downgrades and all these things, but you get, let's say, um, information about the next step. For example, in this case, how could you use adaptive protection in Microsoft Purview? Okay, another one could be to troubleshoot issues on Windows devices, or let's say, generally speaking, devices. And we can do this because we can use Copilot for Security in Microsoft Intune. And when you go into the Intune Admin Center, you get these specific tasks here. Get help with settings while creating a new configuration policy for devices, and let Copilot analyze the potential security impact of a policy. And another thing that you can do is to quickly analyze apps and policies assigned to a device to help determine issues affecting your users. So I'm going to use one of these, and in this specific demo, I would like to type a device query. I would like to get some information about my devices that are already present in Microsoft Intune. As you can see, Copilot has some prompts already here. For example, showing me all my Windows 11 devices, showing me devices that have a TPM version 2 chip, or showing me the devices with an Intel CPU and so on. Okay, but I want to ask something more specific than this. And this is what I want to ask. Show me how many devices are running the Windows version, that specific version, and have not patched in the last 20 days. Summarize the recent updates count. Display the device name, OS version, and architecture for those devices. And when you run this prompt, Microsoft Copilot for Security will create for you the query that you need to do. Okay, and you can actually add and run, or just add it to the editor up here. Okay, and when you add it to the editor and you run it, you have all the results that you need. These are the devices that belong to that specific query. And actually, something that most people cannot really understand it, that all this information here is clickable. You can click every single device here to get information about that specific device in Microsoft Intune. Okay. Another thing that we can do, I would like to use Microsoft Entra, the so-called Azure Active Directory. Now Microsoft call it Microsoft Entra. I would like to use Microsoft Entra to quickly access user risk and get remediation recommendations about user risk activity. So if you go to the identity protection dashboard, you can use some prompts that are already there. For example, list the most recent risky users in my tenant, or show applications from outside my tenants, and so on. But what I want to do here is I want you to show me my most recent high-risk users. And Copilot for Security will get all that information. As you can see, we have 4 users here that are considered a high-risk users. And if you click on a specific user here, you can go directly to that specific account of the user and get all the risky users details about that specific user. And what we can get here, first of all, is a summary by Copilot. So this specific user has one recent risky activity with high risk. The risk detection type is attacker in the middle. What it does anyway, you get all that information. And of course, it lets you, if you want to create a sign-in risk-based policy or create a user risk-based policy, because we always want to think about the next step. Okay, but in this scenario, I would like to do something else. I want to type as a prompt here, show me the sign-ins for the user one day before the alert, because I want to, let's see, examine the sign-in activity of that specific user one day before the alert happened. And I get all this information, all the sign-ins for the previous day for that specific user. The user signed in by using a browser on a Windows 10 device using Edge browser, and again he signed in using again a browser here. Success, multi-factor authentication requirement satisfied. So at least I know that I'm secure because the user actually used multi-factor authentication. All these sign-ins from the previous day. And next, I would like to ask Copilot what multi-factor authentication methods are available for that specific user. At least I want to know that the user is secured. Okay. Okay, I'm good to go because I can see that Microsoft authentication method is already enabled on this user's iPhone. Okay, so at least I know that there is, let's say, a good chance of security for that specific user. Okay, but the next thing is to get recommendations about Copilot. So what should I do to remediate the attacker in the middle thread for that specific user? And I get a long list of all the steps that I need to do. Some of the steps could be to reset the user's account credentials, revoke access tokens of the compromised account, and all these different steps that you can do as recommended actions. Okay. So what is this? Imagine, and I want to tell you a story now. Imagine that it's let's say mid of July, mid of August. You are on vacation in the lovely island of Mykonos in Greece, and you actually want to get a drink sitting in this bar here by the sea, and you check your emails and you receive an alert from Microsoft Defender XDR. Okay, so this is going to be a scary one, but we will tell all the story from the beginning. Okay, so you check through Microsoft Defender XDR incident and you discover a suspicious PowerShell script that was executed. Okay, and you need now to solve the mystery using Microsoft Copilot for security. And as soon as you log in to Microsoft Defender XDR, you check that specific incident and you find that there is a script, a PowerShell script, actually this one. Okay, think about you are in Mykonos, it's mid-August, and you see this and you say, oh my God, what should I do now? This is a base64 encoded PowerShell script. Actually, it's a wall of text. Nobody can really understand what it does, but you have to find a way to solve that specific case. Okay. But let's see how everything started, because Copilot for Security can analyze the whole story for you and give you all the steps in between. So let's move to a demo video that I've created, and everything starts like this. Okay, what you get is an email for a specific user. That email it seems to be malicious, but anyway, let's take a look at this. The email message says, Mrs. Robbins, we've detected an issue with your account, Lynn Robbins. Please validate that you own this email address to begin addressing your issue to prevent disruption to your service. And actually, that email message asks the users to click on that one, on that specific link. Okay, but since we have educated users in our company, the user already knows that he can do this. Take a look at this. He can click on that button and report as suspicious that specific message to Copilot for Security. And this information will go to our security team inside Copilot for Security. As you can see here, I have created a logic app, as we've seen before in Microsoft Azure, because we want to better use that information to understand what really happened. Okay, in this specific logic app, you can see that it can check the attachment if there is a script in that one. Okay, it will set some variables anyway here. it will parse the email message. But the good thing is that Copilot for Security, apart from all that technical things that it can do, it can summarize the email intent. What is this? It can actually go and check the, let's say, the body of the message. So take a look at this. In the following series of prompts, we will assess data to determine if an email is phishing email. So analyze the body of this email for malicious intent and legitimacy. Indicators to look for: sense of urgency, phrases like act now, urgent action required, or immediate response needed, or some generic greetings such as dear customer, dear user, or hello friend, spelling or grammar mistakes. Think about this. All these phishing emails usually contain spelling or grammar mistakes, so Copilot can check for that one. Frequent misspellings, improper grammar, and so on. Or maybe too good to be true offers, promises of large sums of money. You are familiar with all these phishing email messages that usually follow that specific, let's say, template. Okay, so the good for artificial intelligence that it can actually go and analyze the text and the intentions of the sender of that specific email. Okay, so when we finish with a summarization of that specific text, the next step in this logic app is to initialize variable attachments and, of course, check if there are any attachments in that specific email. If it's true, it will submit a Copilot for Security prompt and actually analyze the attachment, which is now really very good. This is really technical here because we want to analyze the attachment to check also if there are any domains for domain reputation. This is another important step that we can use. Copilot can check through Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence for domain reputation. What is the actual sender? Or is there any domain information in that specific message? Probably there is. So let's go and get the reputation of these specific domains using Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence. So, okay, and as soon as we finish with that specific logic app, let's see what the next step is. Finalize and score the message. So actually decide if this message is a malicious one. And we'll create a report. And as you can see, it will create a beautifully crafted email message as an investigation summary. And this message will go to our security team and we'll have all that information related to that specific email message. I want you to take a look at this for a moment. Domain subject consistency. This specific domain does not match the expected domain for a legitimate support team email. Okay, and remember this specific domain because we're going to use it later in our case here. But Copilot actually realized that this is not legitimate. Something's wrong here. Okay, so that email message will go to our security team for further investigation. And what the security team will do, let's move to the next step. And the next step could be this: to check the session ID for that specific email. This is a security Copilot session using the standalone experience. And as the security guys go into that one, they can use, first of all, Microsoft Purview information protection and the data loss prevention solution that it's there. As you can see, there are some alerts here. The first one is this one: a DLP policy matched for a specific document in OneDrive. And if you check that specific alert, Copilot for Security can give you additional information about what really happened, why we have a DLP violation. Okay, so we could type summarize alert. So give me specific information for that specific alert. Okay, Copilot will do the job and we will get all this information that we need. Let's take a look at this. The file involved in this alert is January sales order. It's an Excel file. You can actually click on that one and check the file. But the policy responsible for this alert is named Default Finance Information Protection Policy. So this is a policy that we probably created in Purview to protect our financial documents. Okay, so we can move. And by the way, in some cases, you don't need to type anything. You can use the prompts that are already suggested by Copilot. For example, that specific prompt says what activity was performed on the data on this in this alert. Okay, let's click on that one and let's drink some water as Copilot does the job. And the information that you get is this. We wait a little bit for Copilot to do the job, to see the activity that was performed on this specific data. Okay. The activities are DLP rule match two currencies, a label was changed, two currencies, a file was uploaded to cloud, one occurrence, and a file copied to removable media, one occurrence. And let's describe the sensitive information, file labels, or data triggering this alert to get more information about that specific information protection alert. So again, you don't have to type anything, you just use the prompts that Copilot suggests. So take a look at this. We get some more information here. Let's run it a little bit. Okay. So these are the file paths that are involved in that specific alert. These files contain two credit card numbers, social security numbers, US driver's license number, US physical addresses, full names, and so on. Okay, so we now start to have an idea of what are these specific data, what is included in these Excel files. Okay. And since we know, and take a look at this, we know which user is actually involved in that specific incident. This is user Liner. Okay, let's go and check some information about that specific user. Now we move to Entra ID Admin Center, and we should use again here Copilot for Security to get some more information about that specific user. And let's see what we can do. When you click the Copilot button, again, you have Copilot to help you. Okay, we can use, or let's say type a prompt here. And the prompt could be, what is the user risk status of Lynn Robbins, that specific user we've seen before, and her colleague, Jonathan Walcott, because we know that these guys work together in the same department, in the same office. Are they considered risky, these users? And Copilot will do the job and will give us the information. And the information could be something like this. Lynn Robbins is not considered a risky user, but user Jonathan is currently considered at risk with a high risk level. Okay, so let's click on the risky users report in Entra ID protection to check that specific information. And as we have all these users here, let's go and check Jonathan. What is wrong with Jonathan really here? Okay, risky user details about that specific user. And we have something really important here. User Jonathan has one recent risky activity with high risk. The risk detection type is possible attempt to access primary refresh token. And of course, it can tell you here what is this attempt, what is all about. But since we have some more information about that specific user, what should we do? Let's see what else we can do. Let's type at the Copilot prompt here, and let's see. The next thing that we could ask is, what are some recommendations for how to protect my users against PRT attacks? And Copilot will give you all the recommendations that you need to know. Okay, use TPM, enable multi-factor authentication, and all this information that you see here. Okay, the next step could be, now that we know some information about this user, how would I go about creating a risky user policy? Because it's a good idea to create a risky user policy in Enter ID. Okay, and what should I do? It will give you all the steps that you need to know in order to create a risky user policy, step by step. There is no excuse. You have everything that you need to know here. Okay. And maybe we could ask something more. What are some conditions for this policy that I should include? Okay, and Copilot will give us the results. Okay, let's see. What information should we get? So to create an effective risky user policy, consider including the following conditions: user risk level, sign-in risk level, exclusions, access control, and so on. Okay, now we have all the information that we need, and let's see what could be our next step. Let's move to threat analytics in Microsoft Defender. Microsoft Defender Threat Analytics gives you all the high impact threats, the latest threats that Microsoft knows about, threats that happen to every single data center in the planet. But we can use the Copilot in Threat Analytics to ask for some specific information. Do you remember the domain name that was included in the email message that the user received? So we can ask Copilot what is known about the indicator, and we just type the domain, that specific domain name. This was included in the initial email that we received in Mykonos, if you remember. Okay, so the response could be something like this. It will check the entire database in Threat Analytics and will give you that specific response. So the indicator, this specific domain, has been classified as malicious with a reputation score of 100. Okay, this domain is associated with the following intelligence profiles and articles: Storm 0300, and actually, as you can see here, it's classified as a ransomware. Okay, and this is the specific indicator, and actually you get the IP address that this domain resolves. Okay, so now that we know that this indicator is a malicious one, the next step could be to ask some more information about that intelligence profile, Storm 0300. So what report is available for that specific intelligence profile, Storm 0300? And Copilot will give us all the information that we need to know. Let's see, what should we get? Okay, sometimes it will take some time. Okay, so as you can see, we have a long description of that specific intelligence profile, but the scary information is actually here. Currently, there are 73 misconfigured and 0 vulnerable devices associated with this activity profile. So there is something that we could do in our company, in our devices, because somehow we are misconfigured and we need to find what are these misconfigurations. Okay, so what the next prompt could be: what assets are impacted by this threat actor? What are the computers, actually the devices, that are impacted by this specific threat actor? Let's see what we get here. Let's see. Okay, sometimes it times out. You need to refresh it, or you need to regenerate the prompt. It happens. Sometimes it depends on your internet connection. Okay. Eventually, it will give you the information that you need. Okay. So the information that we get is 2 specific devices, as you can see here. No, actually, it's more than 2. Users with their SID names, mailboxes, cloud resources, and so on. Excuse me. Okay, and now
we can use another prompt to check about these specific devices. Okay, incident IDs, only information that it could take you hours to go and discover. And now we know that something happened. We could move to incidents in Microsoft Defender and select a specific incident, the one that was described by Copilot in this previous screen. So this is actually a human-operated ransomware attack that was launched, and you can check all the attack story here about this specific incident. And as you scroll down, you find that there is a suspicious PowerShell command line executed. And this is the actual scary script that we've seen in the beginning. The good thing here is with Copilot, we can analyze that script. So we click on Analyze, and Copilot will decode the entire script and will give you all the information that you need. Okay, so the script starts by making a request to that URL, and then it will use this and this and this. I can see some scary things here like mimikatz. I don't know if anybody knows about mimikatz. It's really scary anyway, but we've analyzed the script and we know what to do. So now we know that there are some devices um, involved in that specific incident. Let's go check these devices one by one. This is a Windows 10 computer. The first prompt that you use in Intune is to summarize this device, show me information about that specific computer. Okay, so we get the information, everything that we need to know, which user uses that information. We see, by the way, that user Jonathan uses that specific device. Okay, another good information that we could get is to show applications on this device. So we can use Copilot to do that for us. Okay, and we will get a long list of all the applications. Okay, everything seems normal here. Okay, nothing really strange here. Okay, the next thing that we could do is to use the Copilot prompts and compare this device with another device, something really very good that we can actually do with Copilot for security. Let's compare that computer to another Windows 11 computer. And first of all, let's check the hardware. It will give you a comparison of the hardware, and not only actually the hardware, it'll give you more information than this. Okay, this is the comparisons. We can see that these computers seem identical, but I would like to check a little bit more. Let's compare this device with another device, another one, and let's select as the option here to check the compliance policies. Is there any difference in the compliance policies for these specific devices? So you run the prompt. You check both policies. As you can see, there are no difference. Both devices have the same number of compliance policies, but probably it's a misconfiguration. So it could be a good idea to check the configuration profiles on these specific devices. So we go on, and probably this is the last step of the investigation. So as you can see, sorry, there is some kind of difference. Okay, one computer has a configuration policy applied, the other computer does not have a configuration policy applied. Okay, so probably this is what we need to do. Of course, you can use Copilot for security to check for what is the configuration profile on the first computer and apply the same settings to the next computer. So the last thing that I want to tell you is how can you get it? How can you get Azure Copilot for security? Actually, is an Azure capacity. It's a subscription, So you need to use an Azure subscription. You need to create your Copilot capacity by specifying how many secure compute units you want to use. Okay, so actually you give the capacity a name, you specify the the prompt evaluation location that you want to use, and you specify how many security compute units per hour you want to use. And you can see the price of the estimated monthly cost of each secure compute unit. Okay, and if you want to check the cost, you could actually use Azure pricing calculator. And as you can see, if we use the West Europe region in Azure, for 2 security compute units per month, the monthly cost could be more or less 5,600 euros. Okay, Microsoft, by the way, recommends to start with at least 2 security compute units per hour. Okay, so thank you very much. I think I'm actually on time. Okay.